So no, your screen is not malfunctioning right now. This video has no visuals. So I've debated over making this video for a really long time, and to the point where I've thought about it a little bit too much. And I've written 10 pages about what I'd like to say. Which, yes, you know what? That's a little extra. That's a little extra. But you know what? I had so much fear. I'm literally terrified right now to be talking about this, but I really want to. I don't know actually what is compelling me so much to do this, but I really want to get this out there, and I want to make sure that I do it right. And I know that if I try to film some candid ass video, I'm gonna get it all wrong, guys. So we're trying something new. We're doing like a podcast style. So if you're interested in me and my first world problems, you can just lay down, relax, and listen to what is probably going to be a 25-minute talk. And you know, I've had some people tell me that they find my voice to be really soothing. So maybe you guys will enjoy this. Maybe I'm meant to be a radio broadcaster. Just one more thing I want to add before we get into this. I've literally spent probably about 30 hours writing this video, rewriting this video. So fuck it. It's never going to be as clear or concise as I would have liked. So let's just do it. So if there was one takeaway that I got from my comments on my hashtag single life video, it was that people seem to think that one, they know a lot about me, and that two, I need to be single in order to find myself. Basically insinuating and even like kind of shaming me that since I've been in 4 back-to-back committed relationships over the past 10 years that I haven't been able to find myself. Personally, I think this is just a program response. It's something we've heard many people advise others, so we repeat it back when the appropriate opportunity presents itself. We actually do this with a whole lot of shit. We're basically all like programmed robots, and the average person really doesn't have much critical, independent thought on their day to day. Basically, I'm trying to say none of our thoughts are original. Really, we're just parrots. But anyway, let's go ahead and dissect this claim and see if we can find the logic in my personal situation. So the sentiment basically states that we need to spend time without a romantic partner so that we may properly explore ourselves, grow, figure out what we want from life, right? All that good stuff. But I mean, what's the timing on this? This is my biggest problem with this. What's the timing on this? Because, you know, people evolve and change every single year of their lives. Ask someone who's 30 how much they've changed from 20 to 30, and they will probably laugh and tell you that they're a completely different person. So then how often do we need to be single to find ourselves? Are married people incapable of finding themselves? Or is it just people that go in and out of relationships that need to be alone every now and then to find themselves? Like, are you starting to see how this logic is flawed? I feel as if a lot of this advice that I was getting was likely coming from people who had quite a bit of experience with being single. So, you know, naturally they seem to think that that was the superior way to achieve growth. But just for fun, let's observe the other side of the coin, because what if some people are capable of finding themselves on a greater level from being in a relationship? I just want to insert a little side note here. As humans, we tend to force ourselves to try to fit in this little box of what society considers to be normal. But just because one path is traveled more often does not mean that the other paths are abnormal or wrong. It is definitely possible that all of the paths lead to the same place. It's just that different people prefer to grow in different ways. I don't know why that's so uncomfortable for some people. I guess as humans, we just like to put everyone in a damn box, but it's just not reality, guys. As someone with a lot of relationship experience, I can tell you guys that nothing has helped me grow more than my relationships. They've just given me this absolutely insane insight into myself, my mind, my desires, my needs, while at the same time helping me master some of life's most valuable tools. proper communication, the art of selflessness, gaining broader perspective, and lots, and I mean lots, of self-assessment paired with reflection and improvement. So you see, I could easily turn the table and say that you need to be in more relationships to find yourself or to reach your maximum potential. But really, it's all about personal perspective. There is no right or wrong. So I think the ultimate question here is, have I found myself? The funny thing is I actually think I'm more self-aware than the average 28-year-old. My relaxed career has given me so much free time that I've had access to a level of like mental freedom and self-discovery that many have not been able to experience, at least not at my age. And this has given me the ability to not only deeply study myself and my interests and my passions and what works and what doesn't work, but also just in general to study the many facets of life. So I don't really know what more I could ask for in the Department of Self-Discovery, at least not for now. But I just want to make something clear, okay? I'm going to go a little ranty on you for a minute. Just because I've been in relationships for the past 10 years does not mean that I'm incapable of being happy without one. That's such bullshit. Of course, anyone who's used to doing something in one way for 10 years is going to have a period of shock when that is taken from them. I'm actually a scary, independent person. So even though I've always had a boyfriend, I still spend roughly about 60% of my time alone. I'm constantly studying, working on various projects, mostly that fail, exploring opportunities. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I'm not a needy bitch, okay? If anything, my boyfriends tend to get frustrated because I often put my own endeavors and personal projects over spending time with them. And since you know I'm already kind of ranting, I'm gonna go ahead and just rant about one more thing, okay? I just wanna take this opportunity to clear the air about my views on financial independence. Now, I have a lot of pride when it comes to my personal financial independence, probably a little bit too much, okay? I tend to never let anyone buy me anything, and I mean anyone, boyfriend, family, friends, anyone, okay? I don't even let people do things for me. So no, I do not allow my boyfriends to buy me things, and that has never been an element in any of my relationships. I have always been a 100% self-sufficient person. Yes, even back when I was dating a certain someone, which I'll never understand why people called me a gold digger back then. Like, guys, honestly, did I have any of the signs of being a gold digger? Was I carrying a Chanel bag or walking around in Louboutins or driving a Mercedes? No, I was wearing Pikachu t-shirts, flip-flops, and driving a Fiat. How people got off on calling me a gold digger, I will never understand. It just so ridiculous and so hurtful. I have always supported myself, and I always will. Okay, rant over, but to get to the point. Back to the sentiment about you need to be happy being alone. Well, honestly, that's just fucking ridiculous because no one is happy being completely alone. Being alone kills people. Literally, the most comprehensive study of happiness found that loneliness takes years off of your life and that socializing is the number one force behind longevity. What people really mean when they say you need to be happy alone is that you need to be happy with just the company of family and friends because, well, that's how normal people live. And yes, that may be the popular way to go about it, but that doesn't mean that it's the only way. As humans, we all need to feel a sense of social connection with others in order to be happy. This can come in a mix of three forms: family, friends, and romantic partners. My personal mix has been about 5, 15, and 80. 5 on family, 15 on friends, and 80 on romantic partners, which, yes, may not be the most common mix, which is why I think people reacted so adversely to my video. But let me go in a little bit deeper and explain my reasoning. 5% on family. So my family lives 2,000 miles away. I really don't see much of them. A phone call here and there, some text messages, but we're just not that close. I love them deeply, but we have such different views on life that I often struggle to connect with them. 15% on friends. So I'm going to be really, really, really blunt on this one. And you guys know that that's saying a lot because I'm blunt on the day to day. So if I have to make a warning that I'm going to be blunt, like shit's going to be real blunt. Okay. But, yeah, this is going to make me sound like a really big bitch. I honestly don't like most people. Okay. And this is not coming from a place of superiority because really I don't like myself either. Like I literally hate myself. But whenever I'm talking to about, I would say 90% of people, I literally feel bored. Is that mean? I don't know. I just can't help it. I feel that I can stimulate myself much better than they can. And ultimately, I'm standing there and I'm thinking about how much I would rather be at home, reading, working on a project, watching a documentary, like just something that challenges me over making me feel mentally stagnant. However, there is that 10%, those people who I just fucking click with, those people who are so on my wavelength, the people who light my brain up, the people who inspire me, the people who ask me profound questions that trigger self-exploration, the people that prefer independent thought over following the herd, the people who have no filter. Those are my favorite. Those are literally my favorite kind of people. Oh my gosh, I love you if you have no filter. The people that I know that can help me grow and that I can help grow. The issue is I hardly ever come across these people. And honestly, as sad as it may be, I would rather be friendless than surround myself with people who I don't vibe with. I'm scary introverted, over analytical, without filter, very type A, dominant, a bit too logical at times, very opinionated, surprisingly open-minded, have a strong distaste for public attention, and I'm addicted to constant improvement. If you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality indicator, I actually have a very rare personality type. This isn't me bragging because I wish that this was not my personality type, to be honest with you. But my type is INTJ, which less than 1% of the female population in the entire world has. So I truly think this has a lot to do with my social issues. I think it's why I don't vibe with a lot of people, and more specifically, why I struggle so greatly to connect with other women. Because my philosophy on life is that mental compatibility is key for successful relationships of any kind. I think sometimes differences can work to your advantage, but generally speaking, the greater the differences, the more conflict will ensue. And when people are too different, it just becomes way more work than what it's worth. All right, so I don't really see my family. I struggle to connect with friends. So what's left to fill my social quota? 80% on romantic partners. Really, guys? What can I say? I just love falling in love and I love being in love. I'm a quality over quantity type person. I love pouring myself into one person and getting to know them on an insanely deep level. And there's really nothing that anyone can say to me that's going to make me feel ashamed about doing what makes me feel my happiest. However, on that note, I actually think there's an even deeper reason as to why I gravitate towards romantic partners, kind of in my subconscious. And it's not good, but more on that in a minute. But now just really quick, a word from our sponsor. So audible.com is a website where I'm joking. I'm just joking, guys. Come on. I'm just out here trying to live my podcast dreams, okay? And that's how they do it. So I just wanted to take a little commercial break, and I thought it would make you guys really mad since I work with Audible a lot. So, just playing. All right, so there's something else that makes it difficult for me to have strong relationships really with anyone. And this is the scary part of the video for me. This is something that, I mean, I don't know if it's smart to share, probably not, but I've lived a lot of my life online, and somehow I find comfort. I find it liberating to get stuff off my chest and just put it out into the universe. So even though this is probably gonna fuck me in a lot of ways, I'm gonna share because I think it'll help you guys understand me a lot more. I honestly don't like talking about this anymore, but since it really pertains to understanding me, I kind of have to bring it up. So if you've been following me for a while, you will know that I have struggled with obsessive compulsive tendencies, and that a few years back, I finally went to a therapist and I got diagnosed with OCD. And then shortly after that, we actually figured out that I didn't have OCD, that I had OCPD, which is obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Now, the majority of you probably don't know what that is, and that's fine. I will read you a little brief but thorough description. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder is a personality disorder characterized by a general pattern of concern with orderliness, perfectionism, excessive attention to detail, mental and interpersonal control, and a need for control over one's environment at the expense of flexibility, openness to experience, and efficiency. Perception of one's own and others' actions and beliefs tend to be polarized into right or wrong, with little or no margin between the two. For people with this disorder, rigidity could place strain on interpersonal relationships. Some examples of classic OCPD behavior would be being so preoccupied with details, rules, list, order, organization, or schedules that the majority of the point of the activity is lost, being unable to complete a project because his or her own overly strict standards are not met, being reluctant to delegate tasks or work to others unless they submit to exactly his or her way of doing things, i.e. just being a fucking control freak, being excessively devoted to productivity and exclusion of leisurely activities and socializing, being so concerned about doing something right that one may be late or even miss important obligations, typically because they were redoing something over and over and over again until it was perfect, having trouble shutting off or being able to sleep, struggling to get out of your head and have fun in social situations, and just generally overthinking with a lean towards pessimism. So basically just always being a negative asshole. Mental illness kind of is starting to seem overwhelmingly prevalent in our generation, but I don't think it's really that it's growing. I just think it's that we're becoming more aware of it. But with this awareness is also coming more ridicule. Like I can literally sense so many people are watching this video right now and just have this attitude of like, oh, another poor soul with a mental disorder, eye roll. You guys, I can't make this up right now. My DSLR camera just froze and is now completely broken. So if that's not a sign from the universe that I shouldn't be making this video, I don't know what is. Because in the many, many, many years that I've had cameras, I have never once had one break. And I mean, there goes my podcast quality audio. I mean, it's fine. I'm gonna persevere. I'm gonna keep going. Okay, where were we? So you see, while many people may not understand, downplay, or even dismiss OCPD, which like, listen, I get it's hard to accept something that you can't experience, you can't physically see it. Odds are you probably don't know somebody very well that's suffering with it. But now it's actually proven via brain scans. This is some crazy ass shit, guys. So if you look at a brain scan of a normal person versus someone with OCPD or OCD, you will immediately notice a difference. Someone with OCPD has a hyperactive frontal lobe, and one of the main functions of the frontal lobe is error detection. So basically, it can make you a level 100 perfectionist. Which, like, look, I can handle. I've been this way for about 10 years, so I've learned how to adapt accordingly. I don't know if I would say exactly 10 years. It's not like I woke up one day and I was like, oh my God, I have OCPD. But I feel like it's been a big struggle for the past 10 years, and I definitely had signs of it as like maybe like 10 years old, but nothing crazy, which you do see it sometimes in young children. I've seen some videos of like little toddlers with OCD. It's so crazy to witness because I know, for instance, in my life, I've had somebody tell me that my OCPD was an interesting story that I was telling myself. Ugh, that's just, yes, because I love this so much. But yeah, so obviously I'm very used to my personality, but for other people, it can take them a while to warm up to me, which is probably another reason why I just prefer to be alone most of the time, because even though it might be a little bit sad, and when I say that, I mean I'm sad, at least it's less triggering, less stressful, and I know there's really no risk of upsetting anyone. Because when I'm in situations where I am with other people, sometimes it can set off this crazy particular know-it-all bullshit. And I hate conflict. I'm a really non-confrontational person. So I would just rather avoid that. And even though I'm totally aware of all of my issues and I've been actively trying to work on myself and kind of like override these qualities, they inevitably just keep finding their way back to the surface. I've had multiple people in my life accuse me of being way too particular or too controlling, and it's something that I've worked so hard to overcome. But you see, like, I don't want to be controlling. I don't get off on it. Like some people, you know, it literally might get them hard to control other people, but I literally hate it. Like for me, it's very, very, very exhausting. And I would much rather shut off that part of my brain and allow other people to do things for me. Like it seems like no matter how much I try to tell my intrusive thoughts that they can go to hell, they still always win. Because if I don't listen to them, it's like I lose my sanity. That's really the best way that I can explain it. Really, you probably won't understand it unless you live it or you know someone who's living it. But if I don't listen to the intrusive thoughts, I really feel like I have no inner peace. And there have been times where I have been able to shut them up. Well, not really shut them up, but I've been able to just force myself to go the opposite direction, usually to try to spare someone else. But it's very, very, very hard. And all this definitely comes at a very big price. So my relationships ultimately fail because no matter how hard I try, I simply cannot handle the imperfections of others. That sounds so fucking awful, and I totally get that. But really, there is no other way to word that. That is just the reality of the situation. So how it typically works is I start to become aware of these imperfections, and then I become extremely distraught. So I start to kind of like exert a little bit of control, and then I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing? This is awful. I need to censor myself. So I take steps back and I keep my mouth shut, and I'm really good at it for a while, but then it just like, I can only do it for so long, and it just starts coming back again. And I feel like the only way that I can attempt to save the relationship is by helping them comply to my demands, which obviously there's no logic in that. I will not argue that at all, but it's basically either that or I go insane. So that's why I do it, or that's why I did it for such a long time. But inevitably I feel awful because I love this person and I can see that I'm hurting them, and nobody wants to be told what to do or how they should change. So I set them free by running away because I don't know what else to do. That sounds really, really crazy. I know that, but this is what psychologists have to say about people with OCPD in romantic relationships. Since all humans carry a significant amount of emotional baggage, it typically doesn't take long in a dating or marital situation to discover our partner's flaws. For someone with OCPD, choosing a partner that lives up to their unreasonably high standards is very difficult, if not impossible. That's painful, right? Remaining invested in a relationship without bouts of volatility over the long haul is highly unlikely. So simply put, humans are too flawed for me, myself included, but sadly I really can't abandon myself, now can I? But I think one of the things that bonds me so deeply with animals versus humans is that there's this beautiful connection without the ability to fuck it all up with language. Like I can love and I can feel love from another being without my issues screwing it up. How beautiful is that? But believe it or not, it actually gets a little bit worse. So apparently OCPD can cause some sort of issue with your serotonin inhibitors. So in other words, it can make you seriously clinically depressed. Just sad beyond your control, just miserable beyond your control. I've been told by a therapist that I'm a great candidate for antidepressants, but I absolutely refuse. Random tidbit of information, my father actually suffers from OCPD as well. It's crazy, but scientists are now saying that OCPD is hereditary, but it can lay dormant, thus producing no behavioral symptoms. And honestly, this really makes sense to me. So from an evolutionary standpoint, I can see how this disorder did well for itself. Having high error detection in a time of minimal protection and maximum threats, think back to like millions of years ago when we were evolving into Homo sapiens, that was definitely a gift. In fact, at least 2% of the population today suffers with OCPD. I hope at this point, maybe you can understand a bit more about why in the past I preferred to be in a romantic relationship over being single. Because I'm not an easy person to connect with. So when I found someone who was on my wavelength and this person was also willing to accept me despite my issues, I just naturally felt this desire to hang on to them. But as I mentioned earlier, I now realize that there's a bigger problem with seeking socialization in the form of a committed romantic partner. So what's the problem now? This is something that I more recently pieced together, and honestly, it makes me feel like a really shitty person. I almost hate that I've had this realization about myself, but it's important that I've had it. So you know how the therapist thought that I would be a good candidate for the antidepressants? Well, when you're in love, you're basically on natural antidepressants. Serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, just what a beautiful concoction. These three neurotransmitters are very active when you're in love, and they make you feel really, really good. People say love is a drug for this very reason, because it literally gets you high. You're just a happier person when you're in love. And when you're that happy, the imperfections don't matter. They don't exist. And I feel mentally liberated. However, once that initial kind of high-like love fades and the hormone levels stabilize, I struggle to hold on to the relationship because I return to my old self. So basically what I'm saying is now I've realized that I'm a love addict, not just because it's my preferred means of socializing, but also because it's the only thing that can make me feel good and function like a normal person. It's basically free Zoloft. Now, of course, I've never consciously used people to get this perk. Like, I genuinely loved and cared so much for all of my boyfriends and entered my relationships full of pure intentions. But unfortunately, now I can see a pattern forming that I really can't ignore. I've realized that my last 3 relationships all ended the same way, which is why I say I'm done with committed relationships. Like, I'm done hurting people. So what's the solution? At this point, can you guys believe that I'm still talking? God, how long is this video? I bet we're at like 20 something minutes right now. This is unreal. But see, this is a perfect example. I'm too thorough. Like if I do something, I do something and it's like too far, it's too extra, but it's the only way for me. Anyway, okay. So what's the solution? Well, I still want to have romantic relationships, but just not committed ones. I want to have deep relationships with people, just not too deep to the point where I'm around them so much that their imperfections drive me insane. And honestly, like, I don't want to limit myself to just one person anymore. I realize most people may think that's awful and abnormal and that I want to keep everyone at arm's length is weird, but you know what, like, I'm not normal and I think it's just what will work for me. I no longer feel the need to tie myself down to one person because I know it will likely not work out, and that I know if I get too deep with this one person, I will likely just end up hurting them. And I feel like I have hurt all of my ex-boyfriends, and that causes me so much pain because I love them. I love them still to this day, and I feel like they all hate me, except Cyrus. He doesn't hate me. He was literally just here the other night watching Game of Thrones. We're still friends. But generally speaking, they don't understand and they hate me. I feel like Cyrus understands a little bit more because I am a lot more aware of my problems now than I was with my other boyfriends. So he understands me. Anyway, that was a tangent. So basically, like, I'm gonna make it clear from the jump with people that I'm not looking for anything too serious, but if we have a connection, we can certainly become close and enjoy one another's company. And this excites me. I think opening myself up to the option of casually connecting with multiple people over locking it down with just one will really, I don't know, just like enrich my life and broaden my perspective. And I think it will probably be enough excitement to keep a steady flow of my natural dose of Zoloft. As for friendships, I definitely regret not spending a bit more of my energy on them, as they're likely a better investment of my time. Like, I fully realize that they definitely have better odds of lasting longer, so I'd really like to shift those numbers quite a bit. I'm really looking for my ratio to be more like 10, 50, 40. The struggle is, how do I meet those friends? I suppose I need to push myself to get out there more. Then maybe I can organically find some people who are on my wavelength. But similar to my philosophy on keeping romantic partners at an arm's length, I will likely have to do the same with friends. I'm just terrified of reaching the point with people where I become darkness for them. I really only want to engage in friendship if I can enrich people's lives. Since I struggle with both romantic relationships and friendships, I want to focus most of my time on my education, but that is yet something else that my OCPD fucks with. I set such high standards for myself that it gets in the way of any real productivity. I just keep trying to improve, and redoing things over and over until time is up, and I've circled back so many times that it's only like 85% complete at best. And then I can't deal with this feeling that my work isn't good enough, and I freak out and I quit. Which is why this time around, I am like really easing myself into college by starting off with only taking one class and then gradually adding more and seeing how I feel. But this kind of like, it's not good enough mentality pops up in nearly every single aspect of my life. My relationships, my friendships, my work, my appearance, my living space, etc. However, I really don't want to get in too deep with all of the ways that it affects me in my personal life because we'd be here for an hour. But truly, everything, even with the things that I do online. I'm constantly deleting videos because I find errors in them. I really don't even take photos anymore because every single time I do, I just find more flaws. I delete tweets and redo them if I make a mistake. I even constantly edit and improve my replies in the comment section, you guys. I can never just look at something and say, oh yeah, looks good. I just always have this intense feeling that it's not good enough and that I can make it better in some way. And the entire situation is just so overwhelming and so draining and so frustrating because it seems as if no one can relate or understand me. They just compare me to themselves and judge me and think, just stop caring so much. Like, just let it go. And it's like, believe me, I've tried. I've gone through cognitive behavioral therapy. This issue has caused me so much pain and so much struggle in my life. And if I could flip it off like a switch, you know, I think I would. I think I would have done that by now. I'm exhausted. And I'm exhausted of trying so hard to censor myself so that I can seem nice or normal or positive for other people. Like, to be completely real with you guys, I have considered suicide multiple times because I'm so tired of feeling like a slave to shit that doesn't really matter. I'm so sick of my intrusive thoughts being a roadblock to my happiness. I'm so sick of not advancing in life because I keep taking steps back instead of forward. And I'm so sick of hurting good people over something that my brain is telling me to say. Like, how ridiculous. I'm honestly just so close to saying fuck it and going on antidepressants, but for some reason that really just feels like the ultimate defeat to me. It feels like I'm letting it win. I don't like to talk about it or even think about it as an entity because I truly do think that it gives it more power. It turns it into a crutch where I'm like, well, I do this and this and this because my OCPD, and that's just how it is. No. Even though it may seem like it, I do not want to have victim mentality. Like, I hate that. I'm fighting this shit every day, and it pains me to use it as justification for anything, but sometimes that is just the reality. So hopefully you can see like why it's relevant for this video and why I've addressed it so heavily. This video is getting so long. If you're still here, hi, congratulations. I really actually was going to cut out this next chunk because I feel I've talked way too much, but then the rest of it might not click, so fuck it, here we go. My career is also a very big struggle. So since things pretty much need to be done my way, and since I am very thorough and slow, I pretty much have to be my own boss and in a career with flexible deadlines, similar to kind of what I'm doing right now, which is why YouTube has been so great for me. I've been so blessed that this happened for me that the way that it did. But obviously I don't want to be a YouTuber forever. At least I don't want that to be my main focus forever. I'll probably never fully leave YouTube, but I would like a career on top of it. But you know, all of that criteria, needing things to be done my way and needing to have flexible deadlines, like you guys are probably already thinking, good luck, honey. But you know what? Surprisingly, I actually have a lot of faith in the future of my career. Like, have you guys ever experienced a euphoric moment where you just got this insane gut feeling that you were exactly where you were meant to be? Like, you had found the path and there was no doubt. So I've always wanted to work with animals. I've always been crazy animal lover. But I didn't know how I could turn that into a career or if it was feasible. I just didn't have a clear vision. I wouldn't want to work at a zoo because I think they're prisons. No offense to anyone who works at a zoo, but not my cup of tea. I wouldn't want to be a vet because I'm not too into the physical aspect of animal care, and I definitely wouldn't want to work in a lab. So what kind of like intellectually stimulating career with animals could I have? So then I started to think about all the things that make me light up in addition to animals. Psychology, evolution, anthropology, biology, sociology, philosophy, physiology. And then I realized like there's a career that encompassed pretty much all of that. One where I could be in control, and one that could even possibly help alleviate my intrusive thoughts. And I just talked about this in my vlog, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. But yes, it is having an animal sanctuary for apes. But even though I feel as if this may be the best possible fit for me, of course, there's that voice in my head telling me that I won't be able to do it because I never see anything through, and I definitely won't be able to see something through that requires many years of hard work. And you know, my haters love to remind me of this too, as if I'm not capable of reflecting on my own failures. But you know, I really hope that this time around that voice isn't right. And I hope that with the right passion in my hands that I can live without my past defining my future. My therapist actually once told me that many patients with OCPD struggle immensely with their career path, that they're really good at conceptualizing, but awful at long-term execution. So when things fall short of perfect, they no longer want to be a part of it. So they go back to conceptualizing, and then they find their next great idea, repeat, 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 repeat. Which, by the way, I actually do want to go back to therapy, but I need to find someone who specializes in OCPD. I just haven't clicked with other therapists. I didn't feel as if they really understood me, and ultimately, like, honestly, I just felt like they wanted my money and they wanted to keep me hooked on coming back to see them, but they weren't really giving me anything that was helping me. But I do need to find a therapist because I am definitely getting worse with age. Psychologists say that OCPD tends to progress as life goes on, especially if you tend to isolate yourself, which I think that is very true for me because my career has allowed me to be a loner and because I've had so much free time to give in to my intrusive thoughts. If I were, say, like a mom of 3 and basically forced to prioritize something else before my intrusive thoughts, I would likely be doing much better. But I've spent the past 10 years with a lot of time for overanalyzing. It's kind of like I've been feeding the monster. So in hindsight, I realize now how much that has hurt me. So I'm trying to build a different life, one that's better suited for my personal needs, not the needs of the average person. I've become so aware of my issues that now I'm actually like optimistic about my future, but I'm adjusting to a dramatically different way of living. So of course it's going to take some time before I get on my feet. But I'm ready to push myself to new heights, guys. And I know that I can find happiness without being medicated. Like, really, I'm committed to that. It's just gonna take some trial and error. So little changes, I feel like laughing more, dancing more, exercising more, eating better, and big changes like therapy, going to school for something that I'm really passionate about, connecting with more people, and just honestly, trying not to be so hard on myself. That's probably the biggest thing that I could do. So although this information is a lot to take in and may seem crazy to some of you, I hope that it has opened your mind and made you feel as if you understand me a little bit better now. I think it's so easy to judge someone when you have limited information because you pretty much just fill in the blanks. We all do it, but it's such a flawed system. There's so much that we don't know, and it's very hurtful to assume and judge based on those assumptions. I mean, it's so important to remember that your perspective is not anyone else's perspective, and it's crucial to keep that in mind before you judge someone else. At this point, many of you are probably thinking, damn, like, you're really damaged. And you know, maybe I am. And if it makes you feel good to take a stab at me, go ahead, because at this point, honestly, I really can take it. But I think everyone is crazy in their own way. We're all a little fucked up. I'm just very aware of how I'm fucked up, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. But you know, this is the most vulnerable that I've ever been to anyone, and I'm doing it to millions of strangers on the internet. So please, be kind. I really don't need more negativity in my life right now because I get enough of that from myself. But also please don't pity me because I'm definitely not wanting to make people feel sorry for me. It's literally the last thing I want. I just want to feel understood. So I feel like so many of you look at my life through a lens and think that I have it so good because I have this cute apartment and nice clothes and a nice car. So it's like, how could I possibly complain or be depressed? But you know, now maybe you have a little bit more insight that my life isn't as great as it seems, and that, you know, nothing is as it seems. So that's it. Okay, much love. Good night.